welcome back to the Angler Journey podcast. My name is Makenna Kirchhoff, and today I get to be joined by our lovely comm team. And this is the first time
we've ever had 4 people.
Yeah, so we're all going to tell you a little bit about what we do on the comm team, but then also who we are and what we're really passionate about, and how it relates back to entrepreneurship, because at its core, Angler is always all about entrepreneurship, and we get to really show that through our skills on the comm team. So, to get us started, nose goes. Who wants to ask our first?
Oh, that was cool.
I think it's Cole's turn to start talking.
To get us started, I'd like to pose the question of what is your guys' personal way of showing or practicing entrepreneurship through the work you do here at Angler?
Practicing entrepreneurship.
You know, I can go ahead and attest to the fact that I love building relationships with people, and I've gotten to do that as my whole career here in college, but I've really gotten to grow those skills with facilitating brave conversations, and now I get to facilitate conversations with our students on the podcast, and so I think that that is one of my biggest skill sets and like a gift that I've been given, and so getting to showcase that but really just invest into people through that skill has been I think my biggest piece of entrepreneurship that I've been able to be successful in.
Right.
Awesome.
I think for me, it was a risk. I mean, I graduated in May 2021, and I took a risk. I quit my job and I came back to Angler to work full-time here. And I loved my job before, but something I always tell people when they ask why I left my job before is you are the people you surround yourself with. And not that the people weren't great where I worked at before, but I think people here at Angler are dreamers and they're doers. And that's like, they work for the heart. They don't work for the money. And that's what I wanted to be surrounded with every day. So I get to do that. And I took a risk in coming back here. And I guess outside of Angler, I mean, man, there's days with the band where we're traveling across the state and I might not get home till 1 a.m. and I'm taking a risk to, get a little, not see my family or not get enough sleep or something like that. And that's a lot of risk, and there's give and take with that. But I think traveling and being able to be adaptable with the band and with my singing business and everything else is taking a risk.
For sure. I think for me, through my role on the comm team in Angler, I started in comm team sophomore year of college. So the pandemic was still kind of in the midst. And my main duties were doing the internal Angler update. So that was my thing. I was the email queen for a really long time. And then just through different opportunities and the growth and passion that the Angler program has given me, I've gotten to kind of expand my skill set in the world of communications. And I got to go behind a camera when I really didn't have any business taking photos for any event, let alone editing them, and really just growed my communication skill set. And I think for me, my biggest love for on my role in the comm team is being able to tell other entrepreneur stories. And while I don't necessarily have a concrete business of my own yet, I definitely know that storytelling and the ability to tell other stories is like a gift that I have, and being able to grow that gift and having the grit to kind of try new things and test things out that I wasn't familiar with before has definitely shaped me as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'd say for me personally, I'm getting to use this position of helping create videos as a huge creative outlet for myself. I love doing this kind of work. I've taught myself everything I know, and it's just a way to do it and also help someone else at the same time. And like, I've gotten help trying to start my own business through it and a lot of things like that, and it couldn't have been better. So that's how entrepreneurship has affected it Angler for me.
Right. I think we need to take a moment to praise Cole and Emma, because before Makenna and I came here in a couple months ago, like, you two were running the Angler communications by yourself. So round of applause for Cole and Emma.
No, I don't know. It was funny because Cole, we started on the comm team at the same time, both little sophomores, and we used to have like our weekly comm team meetings with Emily Frenzen, and she would ask us, okay, what's Wow Pow Chow or Rosebud Thorn, and through that we just kind of became really good friends. And so running communications for the Angler program for a semester would not have been able to do it without you, for sure.
Same for you.
It was crazy. As an outsider, I just remember, like, last semester before Hailey was on, I mean, it really was just you two, and I was a little worried at times because I was like, are you okay? Because I know that there's a lot to be done. And it's so fun to get to see you guys get to be extra creative now, because you don't have as much on your plates. And so I love that we're each able to kind of lead into our strengths a little bit more and focus on those areas, because we have support.
Right.
I think we should also note the fact that the staff, Michelle, Tom, Brennan, Dave, Hailey, everyone had complete faith in us. Like, who lets two college students that are full-time students and really involved on campus just take hold of your communications department? Like, you guys got it. We're here if you need anything. So just the faith that the Angler community had in us too was really, I mean, that's the reason why we were able to be as successful as we were. And then when Hailey, you came on, we were like, oh, godsend, thank you. And so it's just been really cool to be able to work with you and just to see the growth that our communications department has had in these few short months, for sure.
Right. Okay, I have the next question. All right, so when you think about your role on the comm team and as entrepreneurs, how do you challenge yourself to say yes to the unknown?
I feel like I've never been shy to saying yes. I feel like I say yes to too many things a lot of the times. But especially when it's something I don't know, I just have to have faith that if I mess up, I can just redo it. If I don't know what I'm doing, I can find a YouTube video for help or ask someone who knows more than I do. I take a really experimental approach to things that I don't know. And if it's something that I'm trying to figure out, I just test things. I set up the situation in a lot of different ways, see, okay, this works better. And eventually I find a solution that I'm like, okay, I guess this makes sense. This is probably how I should do it.
It's so funny you say that, because I feel like out of everybody on the team, if we don't know how to do something, Cole, help.
No joke. I think I can't even count the number of times I've called Cole at all hours of the day. Hey, where's this file? Or hey, how do you edit this photo the right way? Blah blah blah. And you're always there. Always answer your phone calls. I really appreciate that.
Even if it's 2 a.m. working in the Angler space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, even before we were on comm team together, I remember in 388, I think I had to call you about something. You were helping me with a logo. And it was the middle of the night. And I'm like, you were like, hey, just call me. I'm like, just call you. Like, these are not working hours. What are you doing? But no, you are definitely very talented at getting things done and testing things.
Thank you, guys. The life of an entrepreneur, though, can't sleep sometimes.
Brain's always working. I think for me, I've also never had a problem with saying yes to things. Like, my biggest learning curve in college was the ability to say no. So I think pulling that into being an entrepreneur and just working in Angler is having the ability to say no to things that I know aren't going to fulfill me. Like, there's a power in the start, but there's also a power in the quit. And I've had a couple different business ventures throughout my undergraduate career, and I've learned a lot from all of them. But being able to see that okay, while this is a cool business or a cool idea, it's not going to fulfill me in my future goals. So just having the faith to say no to something that you could make work, to have the opportunity to say yes to something that would fill your bucket, fulfill your passion so much more in the future, I think has been my biggest learning curve for sure.
Yeah, saying no is so important. Something that I think has helped me to say yes to the unknown is really paying attention to the opportunities that present themselves. As far as my faith goes, I just believe that God has done some amazing things in my life and put some opportunities in front of me that just make perfect sense. So, like, say I've never hosted a podcast before. It's been on my mind for a long time, but I've never actually done that. And I didn't know how to do all of the editing on video and audio. And so saying yes to this position was a risk, yes, but it was also this opportunity that I saw would fit so perfectly in what I feel is God's plan for my life. And so I was able to pay attention to, like, wait, this might be scary because these are all my people. Like, this is my community. I don't want to mess up. But I also knew that the value of getting to build those relationships in my last semester and learn these skill sets would bring so much to my life and really enrich my entrepreneurial journey.
I think for me, so saying yes to the unknown, I think I'm kind of a risk taker, and a lot of times I like to put the horse before the cart, right? I put the horse before the cart, and I just kind of do sometimes, and there's a lot of power in that, but there's also a lot of like, okay, Hailey, probably should have planned out a little bit more, But like you, Makenna, I had never done a podcast before. I had never started a podcast, led a podcast. So it was really nerve-wracking in saying yes to something that you're always going to be judged at the end of the day for what you do or what you say. And I mean, I think there's just a lot of opinions out in the world. So I've learned that I had to protect myself from that. And protect myself from putting yourself out there sometimes, especially I think with music too, like putting out a song, someone's always going to say, oh, like that sounds too country, or, that doesn't sound that great. But just trying and doing and saying yes, there's not many people who can say they have like a song out there, or that they started a podcast, or that they can put this video production together, or successfully write a story about somebody, There's so much power in the work that we do. And so us saying yes to a role like this is going to serve Angler for years to come. So
fun. Love it.
Tangent a little bit, but.
No, it's good. All right, you or me?
I think it's you.
Okay, it's me. So I talked a little bit earlier about how relationships are so important to me, but it's really become something that I'm aware of, that facilitating these conversations, whether that definitely through brave conversations, but also just asking the right questions to people it's been something that's really powerful for me, but I've actually seen more impact in other people's lives reflected back to me because of some of the questions that I get to ask. And that is an honor. Like, it's a blessing to know that something that I inquired about or poked someone in changed their perspective on something and made them, take the risk or say yes to something that they were scared of. And so my question for you guys is, what is something that you have, you've asked yourself and you've challenged yourself in, and you said yes in yourself, but maybe also with someone else? Like, who's someone in your life that you've been able to ask questions for, and you don't maybe have to talk about who they are, but what did that feel like, and how did that empower you to be a better entrepreneur? It's a big one.
I think for me, I'm always constantly, like recently, I've been asking myself how to receive feedback. Like, how do I receive feedback from people? And do I do a good job of it? I actually wrote in my to-dos for 2023, learn how to receive feedback, because although I might seem really good at it, I tend to dwell on things and really take it to heart. But even though I know I shouldn't do that, but I've been asking people out in Nebraska every time we go to a gig, like, hey, please give me a review. Please let me know what you thought of us genuinely, because we want to build this brand around Pioneer and this amazing thing that we're doing. But I also do that with Angler and the podcast at the same time. So I think really this year for me has been communicating with people and gathering data of how can I be a better entrepreneur in my business and in my job.
It's a tough question. Doing a lot of videography, I've gotten the chance to interview quite a few people and see them behind the camera. And what a lot of viewers see is the very put together, professional looking end product. But being behind the camera, you get to experience a lot more. I mean, you get to see them. Oh, did I say that right? Oh, does that sound okay? And things like that, where they're not sure of themselves. We put this image of these successful people and entrepreneurs in our minds where they have it all together. In reality, we're all just figuring it out as we go. And through that and through the experiences of just like talking with other people with that and asking questions, and people who typically their story is really they just decided to start and they weren't really that afraid of what might happen, or if they were, they just powered through it. And that's what's stuck out to me the most and made me want to emulate, is that you don't need to have it put together. You don't need to wait till all your ducks are in a row before you can go start something, or before you can just pursue what you're trying to pursue. And that's one of the things that I think has been the best for me to see, is that it doesn't matter how well put together you are. It matters that you start doing and you take action.
This is a tough one. I think for me, in my entrepreneurial journey, but also my journey in college, I've always been stubborn. Like you can ask my mom, my dad, my older brother, any of my family members, or like any of my friends. I have always had like this stubborn streak in me. When I get an idea in my head, I'm going to do it no matter what. And sometimes that's really great. Like being an entrepreneur, you have to have a lot of grit and be able to say yes to the naysayers. But also sometimes you need to be able to reflect and be like, okay, maybe we should pivot. And I think my biggest like pivot moment, or times when like someone was telling me like, no, like you need to do something different, you need to be better, is my freshman year of college when I went to Chadron State and I was playing basketball and I thought I had my whole college career figured out. And then my degree program got canceled, and then I got a concussion, and I had viral bronchitis, and just a bunch of stuff going on behind the scenes. And looking back at it now, before I transferred to UNO, that was like God's way of shaking me, like, no, stop being stubborn. Like, you can say no to other naysayers, but you can't say no to me. And so just learning how to identify when things are not going right, and instead of just sticking my head down and keep grinding, maybe taking a breath, looking around, and going through a different avenue, a different place. And I definitely am so grateful for all the crazy things that happened freshman year of college, pandemic and all, because it led me to where I am now, and it led me to be a part of this program and get to tell other people's stories and hear their memories and their lessons. And I am so grateful that happened, for sure.
That's so awesome. Wow. I said that for every single one of your answers, but it's so fun. This is what I love. I just love asking questions. It makes me so happy. Fills my bucket.
Emma? You're up, Emma.
Okay, I guess. So, as a storyteller, or a so-called storyteller as I call myself, one of my favorite parts about being on Angler Comm team is getting to hear other entrepreneurs' stories. And a lot of the stories come from really fond memories. and the reasons and whys behind their business is because of a memory or a lesson. So my question for you guys is, in your role in Engler, but also as entrepreneurs, what's one of your favorite memories or something that really stuck out that kind of changed your trajectory of what you thought your path would look like? It's a deep question, you know. Sorry, put you on the spot.
Okay, so I guess going back to when Hailey was a sophomore in college. Sophomore. I went to Tom because I wanted a part-time job, or like I needed something part-time, and I asked him if there was any like way I could help Engler, whether it be comm or whether it be just helping Michelle. And that's when he told me I was going to be the first culture intern. And so as I formed this team around Engler's culture and building and really strategizing on what that looks like, so many things bloomed, and it was crazy because it's still there's a culture team today. But I think what that role did for me was it prepared me for the role that I took after college, and really for now, like where I am today. It opened my eyes on, okay, how do you strategically build culture? And with that, I'm building a culture in this podcast. I'm building a culture with our band. I'm building a culture in my community back home. And I'm building a brand at the same time. I'm building Engler's brand. I think culture and brand go hand in hand. You build both at the same time through stories, for sure. But I didn't know at that time that role was going to prepare me for my role today, which is really crazy to think about in my role outside and in my business, because people want to hear your story and they want to feel like they have a personal attachment to it a little bit. And so I think that's what's fun about my role today is I get to do that with Engler, and I get to share with the world our stories and our how we're changing things and how we're changing Nebraska. Good question.
I think a story for me, and this just really ties into life, is every time I maybe will go look at my Clifton strengths or update my resume or anything that's a reflection on like, okay, what have I been doing? Those moments for me are so impactful because I get to see where I've been and where I've come from. Even just like reflecting on last year, like there's been so many moments where I just get to sit back and be like, wow, I'm here now. And you kind of, like we can get stuck in wishing for the next part of life to start or whatever, but my favorite is the moments when I reflect back, I get so grateful for where I am. And one of my favorite quotes is like, the fastest way to get to where you want to be is slowly. And life doesn't it happens fast. But like when you're in the trenches or things aren't great, maybe they're not bad, but they're not great, you kind of just go through it. And you can look back and be like, wow, that was probably worse than I thought it was, but I made it through and look at where I get to be now. And so those retrospective moments for me they push me forward so much because I get to be filled with gratitude. And being filled with gratitude just makes life a lot lighter. It's not so heavy when you just get to think about, oh my goodness, look at how much I've grown. And being a senior, I think I've gotten to do a lot of that. So I get to be grateful a lot.
There's a lot of memories that I feel like have influenced where I am today, especially within like entrepreneurship. And I feel like one of them is just who I surrounded myself with growing up. My family farms and ranches, and so I was always a part of these family meetings that we would have every year and surrounded by entrepreneurship, where my brother would go mow lawns for money, or and I'd go help him or shovel snow or things like that, where it's super simple stuff. And it all just like built together to take me to where I am today. And then I don't know. I mean, seeing all these other people doing it and coming to a place where it's just such a passionate culture and such a culture that everyone is helping each other and working to get to somewhere further or better than where they were. And that whole culture itself is just what I feel like just drove me to continue to want to do this kind of stuff and to continue to pursue my passions or help other people pursue theirs by telling their stories or a lot of things like that.
So good. That's so good. I love that. I think it's so cool too. I guess my favorite part about being on Angler Comm team and now in my role like with social media is I get to tell like entrepreneurs stories, and I get to sit down and listen to them talk about something that they're really excited about, like a new business venture, or they just made this really great sale, and I get to be like a little light in their like big world of peeking in and like seeing like their stories and seeing their memories and why they do what they do, and then I get to write it up in a little article and then send it out, and just sharing that I think has been probably one of my favorite things that I've gotten to do in college for sure.
Oh my gosh, this is so fun. Really quick, I would love if we could each like job description. What do we actually do? Because like I host a podcast, but what does that entail? And you are a storyteller and you do stuff with social media, but what does that entail? Same with you guys. So if we just want to go around really quick, I think it'd be fun to just get to share what those tactical details are actually, what they involve.
Nose goes.
I think it's cool again.
Dang it. So I guess for Angler, what I do is I work on all of the video side of things. So taking a business and showcasing them, and helping put together this campaign that we've started where we do a student and focus on them for a while, and just capture stories through the art of video, and whether that's making a short or making a recap video of an event or working to actually make a more long form intentional video to show what someone's why is, and just to try and share people's stories is kind of through video is what I do for Angler.
I guess I can go. So my role on comm team has changed a lot over the years. Like I said, I started out as the email guru, as I self-named myself. But recently I've gotten to kind of transition into more of the outward perspective in storytelling. And so social media is now my little baby that I get to kind of mess around with and explore. So my favorite part about that is honestly caption writing. I have always been somebody that loves stories and loves words. I was a bookworm when I was younger, and it's something that I just love to read. And the way I know that they say that a picture is worth 1,000 words, but to me, those 1,000 words are also really important. And so I get to interview, like in our student highlight campaigns, I interview and I get to talk to these students about some fond memories and their whys, and then I get to write it in a quick little caption that others can read so that they can get an inside look on who they are in just like a short little scroll, which I think is probably one of my favorite parts. And I also get to take a bunch of photos and be behind the camera. I love being behind the camera and not in front of it, so it's always really fun to go back through after a Central 40s or Firesides or the Anglers and see all these happy little memories, and then get to see the 1,000 words in a picture and then describe it later on.
Okay, so my role is I get to interview our lovely students and get to extract their stories from them is kind of how I'm going to say that. And I then get to take all of our audio and video and really turn it into the podcast that is on our YouTube and all places podcasts are streamed. But I also get to write emails to those students' hometowns, their communities, and really just send their whole story campaign off to their hometown so that they are, well, so that they get some more exposure there and hopefully more business, but also so they can just be applauded and appreciated and encouraged. And so that's my summary on what I get to do. I get to make reels. I've learned a lot on technology and Adobe, and it's been so fun. So that's my role, tied up in a little bow.
Kenna, you're a real queen.
Oh, puns, no.
I guess for me, so since I've joined in November of 2022, I've learned a lot. I get to handle things like radio, website, email, Facebook groups, and anything that's really communication that goes out. So as the other staff people refer to me as the comm team lead, and I also get to round up all the chickens in here and make sure that everybody is got a very focused area. Before, Emma was handling social media, email, TVs, website, everything. Cole was handling video, editing, podcasts, and I really have I've really tried to strategically arrange our team in a way that everyone gets to focus on something that they're good at and something that they love. So when I say rounding up all the chickens, it's making sure that everybody knows what their role is on the team. It's helping you guys ideate things. It's leading you all and giving you direction on where we can go next. But at the same time, I really focus on building you all as professionals. So as you guys prepare to graduate, I've really tried to ask myself, what did I need when I was in your shoes? And I think right now I've been really trying to get to know you all on a more of a personal level as the comm team lead, because there's no hierarchy here. Like, you guys mean the world to me, and you mean the world, and you've created such amazing work here at Engler. And so I want you to enjoy what you do and do it with intention. So that's been really my focus is, yes, I'm doing radio and website and all that other stuff, but at the core, I really care most about this comm team.
Love that. Well, with that, I think it's time to wrap up. Thank you all so much for being here. We did get to talk about our fire in the bellies a little bit, but this is going to be so fun to get to share with our community. So I'm so glad that we all could join today. And thank you for joining us. We will see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.